Hello everyone. My name is David Reid. I'm the Chief Financial Officer at D-Box. I've been working at D-Box for 4 years now. I was promoted to CFO in August. I'll spend a little bit more time on the history of D-Box than Hugo did, because a lot of people, when they hear about D-Box, that know D-Box, they kind of roll their eyes and say, I took a look in the 90s and I didn't like it then, so here we are. For those of you that know or don't know, D-Box today is a global leader in haptic technology. So very quickly, what does haptic technology mean? Well, that's basically the technology that allows vibration or motion or texture to be felt by the user when visual content or audio content is playing. So for example, haptic technology is kind of everywhere. Think your PS5 remote controllers when you're playing a game and it rumbles, or on your cell phones when you're clicking on the screen and it vibrates as you click. That's all haptic technology. In our case, we focus on haptic technology for seated applications, and we're specialized in making seated haptics the most realistic that they can possibly be. And so for example of that, think, the classic example is aviation simulators, or in our case, we have worked with large equipment manufacturers, think mining companies, think agricultural companies, anything where you don't want to give the keys to a multi-million-dollar machine to a 19-year-old on his first day. You train him on a simulator first. So now I'll take us through our history. I'll take us through our history in a moment, but what we do today is we focus on, or we sell actuators. We don't sell entire simulators. We sell actuators, basically small pistons that are put underneath. You can kind of see them at the bottom of this rig. And we sell those actuators to OEMs, original equipment manufacturers, who they put these actuators into their simulators or cinema seats and sell those finished products, those simulators, to the market. So that's our hardware component, and then the other component, obviously, is the haptic software. And that's our secret sauce, if you will, as Mathieu kind of refers to and what he's looking for. Our secret sauce, or our haptic software, is what really kind of sets us apart from the market. And that's not just D-Box saying it. Our customers and the market say that our haptic experience is the most realistic there is in the market. So that's the premise of our strategic plan today. And I'll just go, like I said, through our timeline very quickly, because some of you might say, oh, well, haptics is new, so D-Box must be a new company. Not really. We've been around for almost 28 years now. We incorporated in 98. We actually started out as a subwoofer and speaker company, installing speakers in high-end homes and cinemas, and they realized that the vibrations from the cinemas were a fun experience. So in 2009, that led to D-Box launching in Cineplex here in Toronto the first auditorium with seats that would move to the visual content on the screen. For the next, from 2009 to 2015, they expanded that theatrical market. They reached almost 400 screens, and they perfected the haptic software, the haptic art. And if you listen to our CEO talk about the haptic coders today, he likens them very much to artists, like a painter or a musician, because the work that they do is really something to behold. And if you haven't sat in a D-Box seat in the local Cineplex, then I encourage you to do so. After that, D-Box pivoted a little bit and focused on commercial entertainment, theme parks, museums, that kind of stuff, trying to sell the haptic experience. And then pre-COVID, I'll say pivoted again and tried to focus on direct to consumer, so at-home applications, gaming, home cinema. Coming out of COVID, D-Box launched several products. You may have seen, if you're following the company, the Vibe, the Mercedes platform, the Cooler Master gaming chair. All of these products aimed at developing that direct-to-consumer market. And then that's when, Mathieu kind of made reference to it. An investor took interest in the company, an activist investor. And in September of 2024, the company overhauled the board. In the summer of 2025, changed the executive, so changed the CEO, changed the CFO. I was promoted. And then in September of 2025, we announced our change of strategic plan. And so our strategic plan now is really built around the software and the haptic experience that drives our products. Whereas in the past, if you look at our press releases or you look at any public communications that we had, it was much more based around product development and selling products. And the selling of the products didn't have any software or licensing component for that haptic excellence that we were creating. That's a stark change, if you will, to the current strategy. We think that the haptic experience is really the engine that drives this locomotive, and so we're going to be focusing on that and ensuring that we're generating a licensing or what we call a royalty fee for that haptic software. Obviously, we still need the hardware to be able to do all of that. So that's why we say we're leveraging hardware to monetize the haptic software and focusing on growing revenue streams, growing recurring revenue streams. One thing, so the one area where at September 2025 we already had a royalty system in place was the theatrical business. That's a business that we saw a real opportunity for growth for the company, because not only were we generating royalty revenues already, the market itself kind of demanded or still demands a premium experience that is different from what you can get at home in your sofa. When we talk about the theatrical market, and especially when we talk about it to investors, everyone kind of rolls their eyes and says, "Oh well, theaters are almost dead." But I don't think that that's necessarily true. There's multi-billion-dollar industry behind it. When you look at any cinema circuit's public publications, they're talking about investing in premium experiences, and premium experiences is anything from PLFs, so premium large format screens. So think IMAX, think ScreenX, think self-branded PLFs like AVX for Cineplex here in Canada, think XD for Cinemark in the US, or things 4D experiences like 4DX, MX4D, 4D Motion, things where they're spraying wind in your face or spraying water in your face, to things like recliners, or obviously the D-Box experience. What we think is obviously we fit into that premium category, but we think that we have a leg up on other premium experiences, because we don't necessarily have to be an entire auditorium solution, and that inherently makes us oftentimes a lot cheaper than the competition. And so we can be kind of a focused investment on the exhibitor's part in their most performant auditoriums, all the way down to their 3, 4, 5th biggest auditorium, to generate a premium on their most used seats. And that's something that our competitors can't say, because you have to invest for an IMAX screen or a ScreenX screen, or in any of the 4D experiences, you have to have an entire auditorium solution, because water can't be sprayed in the first row's face and not the back row's face. And so because we aren't that full auditorium solution, we inherently have a better return on investment on a per screen basis than our competitors. When you think of theatrical auditoriums, the first rows are often left unused, and in the third or fourth week of a film, these auditoriums, oftentimes there's only 2 or 3 rows. Well, oftentimes when it's D-Box, it's the D-Box rows that are actually sold out in the second or third week, because people that are wanting to be in those premium seats or that business class area, and that's what we market ourselves to be, kind of the business class seat of the auditorium. Our seats are still used, and we're generating that premium revenue for the circuits. The other thing about us being a premium, in the premium rows, is that we can be played 3 or 4 weeks after the launch of a movie. So if you know how movies are played in theatrical auditoriums, it's in the first week of release. Normally they're playing these movies in the biggest auditorium, and then they're moving that film down the line to their second, third, fourth biggest auditorium as weeks progress, because there's another blockbuster film coming in to fill in the biggest auditorium. Our competitors, because they're a single screen solution, aren't able to do that. They're not able to capitalize on the premium in the third or fourth week of the film, because the capital investment is so high, they can't get into that second or third auditorium, whereas we can. And like I said, we're still maximizing our occupancy rates are holding, and so we're still maximizing the return for the exhibitors in the second, third week of the film. So another thing that I should probably point out on the theatrical side is we are just scratching the surface of the total addressable market, if you will. There are almost 200,000 screens internationally, 42,000 in North America alone. We're in just over 1,100 screens. So in theory, if we can get 2, 3, 4, 5 screens deep, we can be in a lot more screens than we currently are, and the executive and D-Box is now heavily invested in getting in more screens going forward, because as I mentioned, each new screen, we're generating royalty revenue. And just to go over quickly how that works is, once the circuit buys our kits, so our actuators, and install it in their auditorium, they will pay us a royalty fee every time a ticket is sold on a per ticket basis for having encoded the film. It's the same deal for the studio. Same deal. The studio will also pay us a royalty fee, because not only is the cinema circuit invested in these premium formats, the studio is as well, because studios are paid on gross box office dollars, and we all know that cinema circuits are not investing in more screens. They're not building new cinemas because they're already at their cap. And in order for studios to generate more box office dollars, they have to increase, or they like for there to be an increase in premium formats, because that's where they're getting that premium upcharge. So just quickly on our results. So part of the reason why our stock price has seen an almost 400% increase in the last 12 months is one, because of the change in management, but also I think more importantly, because of the financial results that we've delivered over the last 12 months and even before that. As you can see here, in fiscal 24, and just a reminder, we're on a March 31st year end, but in our fiscal 24 to fiscal 25, we had about a 9% increase in our screens. But we have a disproportionate increase in our royalty revenue, and that's because of, like I said, the brand recognition that we're starting to get, and because we are that premium experience, and people are enjoying the experience, and they're going back, and we're in the best location in the auditorium. So basically, what we're saying here is, despite the fact that between fiscal 24 and fiscal 25, there was a gross domestic box office decrease of 5%. So overall, the North American industry, the sales decreased by 5%, if you will. Despite our 9% footprint increase, we generated a 27% increase in our royalty revenues, which are directly tied to ticket sales. And that's showing the strength in occupancy rate down the line is holding, and people are going, if they're going out, they're going out in D-Box. And that was, even more apparent in our Q1, and this doesn't have our Q2 results, but in our Q1 and Q2 results, where we generated in Q1 $4 million of royalty, and that drove profitability. We generated $3.5 million of net income in Q1, and then in Q2 we generated $4.5 million of royalty and $4.5 million of net income. So that is just showing the scaling effect of, now we've reached a level of maturity, or if you will, or level of scale in our seats, where we have a baseline of royalty that is maintaining us going forward. Just quickly, I didn't go over it much before, but as part of the history, I wanted to mention that in 27 years of existence, you might be surprised to know that D-Box has only been profitable for its first year of profitability was fiscal 24, and then fiscal 25, we increased that profitability on the back of the royalty, like I said. So on a $2.3 million increase in our royalty, that basically drove straight down to the bottom line, increased our net income by 2.8. And then it's the same story in the start of fiscal 26, where our Q1 results were an increase on the prior year's Q1 and drove a $2 million net income. And then in Q2, which I don't have here, but are public, so no worries, our net income mirrored our royalty in Q2. So that was most of all of what I wanted to go over. Was there any questions or things? I think I'm probably fast on time, but